Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
There's no talking the guys out of it once they're in it. 9 times out of 10, the guys know where they're going before they actually hit it. That was Kirby Smart a couple of weeks ago talking about the portal, okay? A couple of weeks ago, obviously good reporters in that room going to ask him, hey, coach, what have y'all done to set yourself up for what might be on the horizons in a couple of weeks when the NCAA portal opens? And that was the quote. There's no talking guys out of it. We have found that when they come to our offices and say, coach, I'm interested in hitting the transfer portal, 9 times out of 10, they already know not only are they going, but they already know exactly where they're going, okay? Welcome into tonight's show. We got a loaded one for you. We're going to start off with this one, okay? This idea that when football players hit the portal nowadays, particularly at schools like Georgia, all right, they know where they're going. How would they know where they're going? They're actively being poached, or they're maybe actively seeking out these potential landing spots before actually officially hitting the portal, because who's actually enacting these rules? Who's actually keeping these rules at bay? Nobody really, okay? It's pretty much the Wild Wild West. You've known this for a while. So how do you go about operating within these systems, okay? And what should you do when you hear, or what should you think about when you hear that Brock Vandagriff has hit the portal, okay? And it didn't take long as soon as he hit the portal for his name to be linked to a school like Kentucky. Okay, within 48 hours of hitting the portal, okay, within minutes of hitting the portal officially, his name is linked to Kentucky, and within 48 hours, he has he has committed publicly to Kentucky. All right, this is not about Brock Vandagriff. This is about learning from what we have seen in the last 48, 72 hours from this particular story. No visit, no wasted time. So I ask you, does that, what I just explained to you, a 48-hour decision, a 48-hour commitment, a 48-hour process that was immediate, boom, new home for a 5-star, does that sound like a decision-making process that was proactive, or is that a decision-making process that was reactive? Okay? It, to me, sounds like a decision-making process that is extremely proactive. It is about Brock Vandagriff going out and finding a new place and a new home for him within regards to Brock Vandagriff, a proactive strategy for his decision-making process for his future. That's what I learned from this experience over the last 48 hours, right? That Brock Vandagriff's decision-making process was independent of anything else. So when you come today, or when you come yesterday, when you came the day before asking, okay, does this mean, Gunnar Stockton was going to beat him out if Carson Beck goes to the draft? No, I think this was independent of any of that decision-making process based off the fact that it was proactive. So if you asked me, or if you tried to put 2 and 2 together, does Brock Vandagriff's decision to go to Kentucky, does that automatically mean Carson Beck is returning to the University of Georgia? I would say no, because again, if you just track this, if you just look at it based off the fact that boom, 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 proactive steps that looked like they were maybe not necessarily predetermined, but they look pretty predetermined if you've read the tea leaves on this, like we've been feeding to you over the last couple of days. I don't know what it means about the potential battle between Brock Vandagriff and Gunnar Stockton that we may or may not have ever seen. I don't know if it directly correlates. I'm telling you, I don't think it directly correlates to Carson Beck's decision. What I learned based off reading the tea leaves here is that Brock Vandagriff wasn't waiting around to find out. Wasn't waiting around to find out anything. He was proactive in his planning, all right? And his plan, pretty efficiently, was to get his butt to Kentucky, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing that with quite a few athletes. It's not just Brock. I mean, heck, the Vanderbilt wide receiver, as soon as he entered the portal,
worked both ways.
Cristobal to Georgia. As soon as he entered the portal. And, I mean, now you're seeing two, it may not even be one selective school. It's, said player just hit the portal. Well, here's the top 3 schools that are interested in him. I mean, not even hours after entering the portal. So it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's a lot like the NFL free agency where once guys hit it officially, they have ideas of where they want to go, and they've been kind of testing the waters the entire season.
That one's my favorite, NFL free agency, because not only has it gotten about, how quickly can we get these deals done in back channels before the free agency market actually truly opens up, but what NFL teams, I guess, failed to realize with all this tampering was that they give this information to extremely competitive reporters. So if extremely competitive reporters have the fact that you have signed a 5-year deal and had it made up at 12:01 when free agency started at midnight, we start throwing flags up just a little bit, even though you got it in officially at 12:01. That's fine. But, hey, how'd you do all that harboring of negotiation prior to NFL free agency, that kind of stuff? Look, tampering exists. Tampering happens. I'm not saying that it happened in this situation. I'm just telling you that, again, your head coach told you several weeks ago, when these kids come to us and say that they are entering the portal, 9 times out of 10, they know where they are going. And if you paid attention the last 72 hours, this looked very obvious. As soon as he hit it, he knew where he was going. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. We're going to talk about that 2024 schedule that was leaked out today, or reported out today, I should say, not even leaked. We will talk about the best fits for Brock Vandagriff, or excuse me, the fit at Kentucky specifically for Brock Vandagriff. As the title shows you, we're going to be giving you the latest on Carson Beck, at least what I know about Carson Beck. I know there's some stuff going around right now. Felt it was needed to be addressed here because I've seen it. I've been asked about it dozens of times today. We're going to address it tonight. A key player for Florida State opted out, the first key player from Florida State to opt out and elect to go to the draft early. We will talk about retaining talent and the keys to retaining talent tonight, and the All-American list was given out tonight. But I want to take a quick second to give a shout-out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Okay, if you want to get in on the action over at Prize Picks, you can get a 100% deposit match today using promo code Brooks over there. So if you run over to prizepicks.com, use promo code Brooks, you will get a 100% deposit match, meaning up to $100. You put $100 in, you will immediately get matched with a $100 entry right on the spot. Also want to give a quick shout-out to our friends at the Athletic Collection. All the fine posters you see around this studio tonight can and will be purchased over on the Athletic Collection. Those are NIL plays, so every athlete that you purchase a poster of, they will get a percentage split of those revenues. The link to that description is in our bio as well, into the description of this video. Let's talk fit, gentlemen. What did you think about the decision to go to Kentucky?
I thought it was a really interesting one. It's definitely not one that I would have envisioned for him, but it definitely fits the mold of what Kentucky has done at the quarterback position over the last few years.
I was about to say, if these three, I got them written down, these three aren't carbon copies of one another. Will Levis, okay, 6'2.5", 225 pounds, devilishly handsome, okay, can rip it, got a live arm, questionable decisions with the ball very often, plays superhero football at wrong times. Devin Leary, I mean, good God, tattooed Adonis coming out of NC State. All right, and now you got the redheaded, long-haired, wavy man, Brock Vandagriff, coming in at 6'3", 225, throwing missiles. So they certainly have a physical prototype.
Yeah, and especially you're going to a school that is used to working in transfer quarterbacks, getting guys in on the fly and getting them in as their starting quarterbacks. So in that sense, a great fit for Brock.
I mean, they've had more QBs taken in the second round than Georgia has in the last 10 years. So.
Second round and above?
Yeah.
It's just Will Levis.
It's just, I mean, yeah,
that's
still more than Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's fair. That is 100% fair. I like it from Kentucky's standpoint. I like them sticking to their guns in terms of doing the consistent thing here. They clearly don't believe that they can recruit a highly touted high school quarterback. They're going to have to develop guys that missed elsewhere. They even tried this with Joey Gatewood a couple of years ago, who we found out today is now a receiver. Where is he a receiver at?
Louisville.
He's a receiver at Louisville. I bet he is making kids feel real stupid in practice. I bet he is really getting after it in practice. That's how all those guys do. Dwan Mathis' highlight tape from Temple at receiver is filthy. Anyways, what were we talking about? This fit right here. I like it from a Kentucky doing the consistency standpoint. Speaking from Brock specifically, okay, now this is the high school ideals of who he was as a football player. We have no idea he's 22 now. We have no idea what 21, 22-year-old Brock Vandagriff looks like. I only know what almost 19-year-old high school senior Brock Vandagriff looked like. So I don't know what the development has been. But this is a very pro-style, turn your back to the offense or to the defense. Like we're gonna try to play like the San Francisco 49ers mixed with the LA Rams, mixed with the Green Bay Packers, like mixed with the Shanahan tree of under center, heavy play action, lots of horizontal jet sweep motions. this doesn't fit in my opinion, this does not fit Brock Vandagriff's skill sets. He's not in my opinion, read the field, turn your back to the defense, heavy boot, play action type of dude. Other than, he's going to be great on play action as an added, portion of his legs. Like, we can do that for sure. But this football player, to me, was made to be a spread RPO quarterback. This guy was made to have his chest to the defense, reading, hey, if this guy pulls in, we're keeping the ball. If this guy pulls in and that guy plays in the flat, we're going to throw it up the vertical seam. This dude was made to play for Jeff Lebby. This dude was made to play for Hugh Freeze at Auburn. I don't know if this dude was made to play for Liam Cohen. That being said, it might work out. Because you're asking the dude to basically, the offense is predicated off reading defenses, and when guys are open, throwing absolute beams. Like, you don't have to layer a bunch of footballs in this offense. You can pretty much throw it 100 miles an hour, which is something he does great at. Mm-hmm. So it's touch and go for me. I personally would have liked to seen the skill sets in a much more RPO spread-based system.
Yeah, definitely would have been cool to see him in an offense that really, like, you see all of his skill sets. They use him in a variety of ways. I'm not sure if you're going to get that at Kentucky, but maybe they kind of work some things in for him, which I'm sure they will if that is how he wants to play quarterback. But, I mean, also some pretty good deer hunting probably in Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, that might have played a role a little bit.
Some deer hunting, some bass fishing.
Yeah, I don't know about fishing, but deer hunting for sure.
I'm sure they got some privately stocked ponds.
Yeah,
not to, if he watches, not to do the thing on Brock's Instagram, but I've obviously been a person that's been following Brock Vandagriff on social media for a while. Every single pond, you see him pulling toads. I'm just talking about fish that look as big as my chest. Okay, I'm talking about just absolute hogs of fish. They're all out of privately stocked ponds. So I'm going to call Fugazi. I don't think that because you catch a 12-pound bass out of a stocked pond that you're some kind of gifted fisherman. Honestly, I think it's almost like dynamite in a barrel, kind of shooting fish in a barrel type deal. Mm-hmm. So not to call it. That's like almost like, hunting in fenced-in land. It's a little bit cheating for me. Yeah. So not to do the, but he did call me out one time on Instagram.
That sounds like someone who's never caught a 12-pound bass.
I've caught a 10.5-pounder, and it was a stocked pond. So I'm not going to be out here, acting like I'm one of them. All right. Now, I can cast with just about anybody. I can't fish with nobody. All right. But no, not to do the fake country boy, but I'm giving him a little ribbon back because I remember one time on Instagram, he didn't like the fact that I was wearing skinny jeans with some boots on. And then when he found out that they were fake boots, they were chutes, they were like shallow boots. He was really not into my fake country. But I was at a pumpkin patch with my wife and kids. And, I felt like putting some boots on. But anyways, it's a hell of a football conversation. Mm-hmm. You never know. Never know where we're going to go. Never know where we're going to go.
You really don't.
I don't like the fit, but it's okay. He might go out and ball. You're going to see him week 3. Automatic starter? Got to be, right?
I mean that's why you bring him in, right?
Yeah.
That 2024 matchup is interesting because that's the first time a quarterback that transferred away from Georgia is going to play Kirby Smart. So...
And it'll be I think his first career SEC start.
Yes.
Because that's their first SEC game of the year too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck. At least you get it at home.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's on the road.
I'm talking about he gets it at home.
I think it would have been cool if it was in Athens.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to play there 2 years. I'm telling you right now.
God,
he's got 2 years of eligibility. You're going to see him twice.
But can you imagine what the UGA Twitter would look like if Brock Vandagriff threw for like 250 yards against Georgia
and ran for a buck 10?
Not even, like 75 yards.
Ooh, yeah, it's going to get
ugly.
It's not guaranteed that he plays Georgia twice.
I'm telling you right now.
It's not yet.
Schedules.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There's
because
no divisions.
No divisions.
So you don't know.
That's a good point.
So, yeah.
That's what me and Jay Will were talking about in the car. I was like, we might not be making another Nashville trip anytime soon.
That's okay.
I'm fine with that.
I think I can be okay with that. I'd like to go to Death Valley.
That'd be sick.
I'd like to go back to Oxford. I haven't been there since high school.
That's this is kind of getting into the schedule talk, the 2024 schedule. Road trip list next year, absolutely elite.
Oh, there's some bangers on this list, dude.
On this list.
All right, let's get into it. The 2024 schedule. We don't have a graphic or anything for this, do we?
No.
I don't think we do, but we did release an article today.
Yes, we did.
Do we want to pull it up on the big board? I think that's way easier for the viewer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just text. There's no graphic in it.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's still a bullet point list, and that's way better than sitting here telling you August 31st you're going to play Clemson. How about playing on week 0 next year?
Is it week 0?
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, it has to be. You're getting 2 buys.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking.
So Yeah, the 2024 schedule was released today. I know UGAsports.com and the homie Roddy released this first. They had the story break on this. So give those guys kudos, give those guys credit. The link was in this article. But anyways, if you want to read this, go over to UGAsports.com and give Roddy their clicks because they deserve it. All right, take it right here. First opener of the season, okay? Opener of the season, neutral site in the Bins against Clemson. Thoughts? I'm glad it's being played. I hope it's not a rock fight like the last one.
I don't know that it will be.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to read teams out this early. But, I mean, I don't know if it'll be as good of a game next year as the last one was. Good in the sense of, like, it's going into the fourth quarter. I just don't know what Clemson's offense is going to be next year. And if it's anything like it's been in the past, then it might be a doozy.
Only 2 mid-majors on the list, so that's clutch. I don't want your ads, Sports Illustrated, even though I'm getting income on those. I don't want them. Anyways, so good opener, way better than who'd you play this year, Murray State?
UT Martin.
Yeah,
UT Martin.
Open up. And look at this. Only shouts out Danny Cannell. Only 2 mid-major non-Power 5 opponents on the schedule next year. Wow. So kudos to Georgia. Kudos to Georgia for going out and scheduling some folks. What's up?
Good job, Georgia.
Yeah, good job, Georgia.
Thanks. Wait till see if the SEC takes any others away. The SEC might come and say, actually, no, you're not playing Clemson.
Clemson is joining the SEC in the near future. You can no longer play
Don't joke around. Don't joke around. It might happen one of these days.
I know.
All right, so we already talked about this one. Third game. What is going on? Third game of the year, road game at Kentucky. You see BVG that week. So
Thank goodness.
You get to see Brock Vandagriff's first career SEC start in this against you guys.
Thank goodness it won't be 19 degrees this time.
It might be a night game, though. They might mess around and give you a night game. I know.
They love giving road night games. I've noticed that.
Yeah. Third weekend of the September month, you get a bye. So that's dope.
Interesting.
Immediately into a bye right there. And then the big one. You get a bye right before Bama. Now, what I want to know is, do they get a bye before you?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering, too. I don't think that the rest of the schedules have been leaked.
One thing I always wonder, and this might be my bias in terms of ignorance, all right, because I don't study them as much as I do you guys. But Bama the last couple of years sure as shit gets all their big ones at home.
Sure feels like
all
it.
their big ones at home, all right? And even like historically, they seem to always get their big ones at home. The most famous SEC football game, in my opinion, is that rock fight, LSU Alabama. It was deemed the game of the century at home.
Yeah.
You got Georgia at home last time during the COVID year because of the East-West division removal and Auburn or Ole Miss or Oklahoma and Texas coming to the conference. You get Georgia at home again. It always seems like Bama gets them at home.
Are you talking about like big SEC matchups?
I'm talking about from my memory serving me. I always feel like Alabama plays their biggest games at home. Well, I can't remember of a 1 versus 2 that Alabama's had to play on the road.
Well, they traveled to Texas in 2022.
Okay. They did. They did. But Texas was a coming up football team. But they weren't even the top 15 ranked football team that year, I don't believe, to start the football season.
I think they were in the top 25.
Okay. But they finished 7-5, nonetheless.
Even the Johnny Manziel game against them was at Alabama, wasn't it?
Correct.
The 2012
And then when
was.
they returned and Alabama beat them, it was at Kyle Field.
The 2013. So, I mean, Bama's had a lot of top 10 matchups. It just so happens that a lot of them tend to be Western teams.
Everybody's circling this one. It came a week earlier because I didn't expect week 0.
Yeah.
I thought this one was going to be the week after this, during this bye, or in between this. I don't know how I thought it was going to happen, but I thought it was going to be the next week. But at Texas in Austin, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
I would presume Texas not as good next year as they are this year.
That's kind of what we were talking.
They lose DeAndre Sweat. I don't know how many. They lose their weaponry.
Yeah.
Right. Xavier Worthy's definitely going to the NFL. A.D. Mitchell probably going to the NFL. But they've been one of the more active football programs in the portal for receivers specifically.
Yeah, plus you get Quinn Ewers back. So that's only going to enhance your odds of probably getting a weapon out of the portal.
And they got good news. I don't know why they felt the need to confirm it, but Arch Manning returning. I don't know why they felt the need to make everybody know that he's not hitting the portal. Florida and Jacksonville, that's what, a 10-point spread next year?
Probably.
Who knows?
Just right now, off rip.
I mean, Florida might be a 3-loss team by the time you play them.
And then Ole Miss at Ole Miss. Now, we were the show that kind of pointed out Lane Kiffin's differences home and away. That's a whole hell of a lot tougher football game on the road against 6th-year, 35-year-old Jackson Dart than it is at home.
Indeed.
Absolutely. And Quinshon Judkins will be returning because he's only a sophomore. I think they'll still have a good bit of their offense returning.
You might, depending on how many losses they have, though, you might be getting Quinshawn preparing for the NFL towards the end of that year.
Very true.
Just
Very
in terms
possible.
of, hey, coach, I ain't getting 25 totes today. I'll give you 15, but I ain't giving you 25 totes to win a football game.
I mean, it's so hard to predict the roster you're going to see in
Correct.
week 1 of a season, much less when you're a whole year removed from
I
it.
don't think it's unfair to say towards the end of the year, if Tennessee's playing Georgia like this at the end of the year, every single year, Georgia's going to have a significant advantage because this team's constantly banged up. They don't have the depth to be battling at week 11, week 12. We saw it last year. They were a much better football team last year. And take the Hendon Hooker injury out. I know that's hard to do, but take the Hendon Hooker injury out. They were kind of getting boxed in a lot of those football games due to physicality or just not having enough juice physically left towards the end of the season. The UMass game we've already talked about, and then Georgia Tech to close the season. I have some questions for you guys for this football game, okay? Favorite game on the slate, what is it?
Texas.
Y'all like at Texas?
I like at Bama.
You like at Bama?
Yeah.
I like the Texas one because it's like the first time that we'll get to see Georgia Texas like in a home and home type deal, not the Sugar Bowl.
You ain't
know?
sneaky. You ain't sneaky. You just want to go to Austin.
No, okay. There's obviously look. I'm excited about the Alabama game because hopefully I'll get to go and get to experience that and experience Bryant-Denny Stadium. But the Texas Georgia matchup is just one of those things where it's like, man, this is a matchup that we haven't gotten in college football. You know, we haven't gotten to see this a whole lot.
I just enjoy the prospect of Georgia being able to go into Tuscaloosa and come out with the win much more than as much as I'd love to beat Texas in the first week you play them in the SEC.
Yeah.
Beating Alabama at home would be much more special to me.
Even if
You'll probably
Saban isn't
pick
there?
against them anyways.
There's that. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see when it comes.
All right, so you got Alabama, you got Texas. I like the Texas matchup as well. I want to see what you guys can do on the road.
I got a question,
in
too.
Austin. I want to see Austin. I want to see that campus anyways. What's
Yeah.
up?
What's a matchup that Georgia usually has on their schedule that's not on it this year that you're disappointed to see is not there?
Is this something I should know?
I mean, just pick an SEC East team that they're not playing this year.
Oh, I mean, I'm not sentimental about that stuff. I'm a matchups guy.
But even so, dang, that would be a good name next year. Like Missouri, playing Missouri next year would be a lot of like Missouri on the road. Those two games the last 2 years have been great.
I think Missouri. The stadium is. I hate the TV broadcast. I'm a weird guy. I've never liked a single TV broadcast that's ever been filmed from Missouri. The fact that both end zones are open weirds me out. The whole thing weirds me out. Anyways, that's just a weird reason not to like the Missouri matchup. Also, don't like the piss yellow. It's just me. But I think they play great football.
Yeah, I
and
think
Eli Drinkwitz is a great football coach. But when they wear all black, I'll watch them. But when they're in that yellow, I got a tough time.
So the only ones that you're missing are South Carolina and Vanderbilt, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I would say South Carolina
no
just
sweat
because
there.
you're going to play at William Bryce Stadium next year, and that's always a fun. It's not fun in the sense of you have to go travel to that stadium because that place is no fun. It's not exactly an ideal place to play college football, but it's always fun in that matchup.
All right, all the big bangers are on the road. Who's the toughest home game? Because if Georgia fans looking at this slate, they're like, damn, the home slate sucks. So I understand 2 years in a row, you kind of get some duds at home.
Tennessee, I guess.
You got Tennessee?
I mean, depending on what Hugh Freeze can do in year 2, Auburn has a very good possibility
very
for
good
that to be a
point.
top 15 matchup when they come to town. But
I honestly, I say this wholeheartedly. I think Georgia Tech gives you the closest football game at home next year. I don't necessarily believe, I already told you, Tennessee late in the year, and what Kirby has done to that offense year in and year out is kind of proven itself. We can already mark off UMass. I think you handle Mississippi State at home in first year Jeff Lebby. Okay, Auburn, we already talked about it. I think it can give you some trouble. But Auburn on the road against Georgia, against Kirby Smart, he's been dominating that for a while. We can mark off Tennessee Tech as well.
yeah,
I mean, you're literally down to like, is Auburn going to give you a game at home? Is Tennessee going to give you a game at home? Is Georgia Tech going to give you a game at home? By the way, you'll probably be double-digit favorites in all 3 football games.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the tests are on the road. I mean, at Kentucky, at Bama, at Texas, at Ole Miss is about as tough as it gets in 2024 for you guys. Where are the losses? I know it's hard. I know it's way, way early. It's way early in this process. Where are the losses?
I think you have to say right now, just the way it is, just because of those two environments, you go 1-1, whether it be Alabama or Texas.
Yeah,
I think you
that's
go
what
one.
I said on my
I think
notes.
you split those 2 games.
Yeah, I don't think
If
you
you go
lose
1-1,
both.
you're surviving. And you're good enough to win out. If you go 1-1 in those football games, you are a good enough football team to win out next year.
Absolutely.
And then you have to always worry about, tripping. I think Ole Miss is a very big trap game in Oxford. Like you said, Lane Kiffin teams traditionally play better. Kentucky could give you issues, but
I think this is the meat of the schedule, and I think it's ideal that you get a bye week after Texas so you can say, hey, balls to the wall, let's go get it. We can lick our wounds next week. All right, and then you get the bye week before Alabama. Hey, let's get healthy. Let's gear up. Let's get ready to go play these Crimson Tide losers.
let's also be realistic, though. This is a schedule where you can go 10-2
And still
make the playoff. And you
Yeah.
probably have a more preferable spot because you're 10-2 sitting on the outside. Meanwhile, say Alabama and Texas have to go duke it out in the SEC championship.
Fair.
It's not near as hard as Florida's schedule, but it's
No.
I haven't looked at the rest of the conference's schedule, but it's got to be up there for one of the hardest in the country.
Yeah, it's got to be up there just solely off of the fact of you travel to both Texas and Alabama and Ole Miss as
Any
well.
fear of Clemson?
Not yet.
Yes and no.
I don't.
I have big fears for Clemson. Dude, have you seen that depth chart?
Not great.
Go look at that depth chart. See how many graduate seniors they're playing right now defensively. And then not only do that, look at the two deep. Okay, so look at the starters and go, ooh, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. And then look at who has to replace them. And you'll notice, oh, he's a freshman. Oh, he's a freshman. What I'm trying to tell you is Clemson hit on like every single 2019, 2020, 2021 recruit on the defensive side of the football. I mean, just hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. Guys that they developed, all right? And then it seemed like 2022 in the back end of 2021's class, it was just like a whole bunch of misses. It's the only reason I can explain why you have starters who are old as piss and backups who are young as piss. It makes no sense to me other than the median, the in-between, must have been a whole bunch of whiffs. So I don't know what Clemson looks like to start the season next year other than young and talented.
Yeah, just in there too deep. I counted 12 on both sides of the football.
12 graduates?
Yeah.
And then look at their backups. Tell me how many underclassmen backups they have, whether they be redshirt freshmen or true freshmen. I know of 4, I think, on the defensive side of football. A corner, a safety, an edge rusher, a linebacker. So there's 4 right there.
12.
12 true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. There you go. So that's what you're going to be playing next year, by the way. So 12 seniors leave. 12 newbies are who you're going to be playing next year to start the season. Now, you could look at Georgia's roster and you could say something relatively similar, but you can't because guys that are replacing, let's say Chaz Chambliss goes off to the NFL draft or whatever happens to Chaz, right? Marvin Harrison replaces him after having 3 years in this defense. He will be in his 3rd year, having played a lot of snaps the first 2 years. Like that's the difference between a guy like their safety from up here at North Oconee. Okay, the Barnes kid.
Yeah,
that kid's going to start for them. That Khalil Barnes. That kid's going to start for them next year at safety and have limited experience. Whereas whoever starts for you next year in safety, like David Daniel Sisavon, if he's the one that replaces Bullard, if Bullard goes to the NFL draft, right? That player has been in your system for 3 years and has been developed. So that's the difference right now.
yeah.
And you don't have to worry about Clemson diving into the portal and grabbing a bunch of players.
No, not to the extent that you might.
They're taking they're
have to.
cleaning up the D2 scene though, so be careful.
Hey, chill out, man. Don't be taking shots at D2. Don't be taking shots at
Take a
Shorter
shot at the
specifically.
D2.
That's a shot at Shorter specifically.
How's that a shot at
Although-
Shorter specifically?
Because that's who they got into offer.
Yeah.
Is Shorter not a D2 team?
They are.
Did Clemson not pick up a transfer from them?
They haven't officially yet.
How's
Is he
that-
committed there?
I don't think so.
They
It was
offered him.
like that's where
They
he's going
offered
to go.
How's that a
yeah.
shot at Shorter then?
I was just saying, hey, man, don't be taking stabs at D2. I did see some people, I don't know if because not a lot of people know about Shorter, but I did find it relatively ironic. Now, he's taken some transfers before, but I found it relatively ironic that, Dabo Sweeney, Joel Osteen fill-in, first, real portal action that he made this year. I see you looking at the meme over there. The first real portal action that he made this year, Shorter. Southern Baptist, school, Bible school, The guy gets it. That's all I'm saying. He knows his profile.
He knows where the NIL is.
Shit. In his name, image, and likeness. Okay,
That's got to be one of the top 5 craziest things the coaches.
Bro,
ever
what was
said.
even crazier was like 6 months before that, a Florida fan that runs in the same circles as a buddy of mine that runs that site down there tweeted out a meme of him speaking at the podium when NIL first got enacted. And it says something like, y'all want to talk about NIL. I want to talk about a guy who was NAIL'd to the cross for your sins. And everyone was like, ha, 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 that's hilarious. No way he would say something like that. 6 months later, he came out with his name, image, and likeness. So, yeah, Dabo Sweeney, a notorious winner. But, no, y'all aren't necessarily worried about the Clemson matchup there? Cade Klubnik probably running for his life?
I think just because it's such a big name, you kind of go, hey, maybe, but superiority-wise, Georgia definitely has the roster to handle that team.
And if you ain't playing Bama in the bins, you fared fairly well in that stadium. So.
Yeah, you have. All right, let's go on to some actual news and notes today. I want to talk about this Carson Beck thing initially, like right off the bat right here. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, review it. There's a lot of you guys in here today. All right, so there was a report that came out I guess today, that apparently, according to this report, Carson Beck has demanded like $4 million. Was that the number that was reported today? $4.5 million for one single year. Just to let you know, that would be the highest singular yearly value given to any singular football player in college football that we've heard of, right? We've heard the $8 million deal for Nico up at Tennessee. That was over 4 years or over 3, valued at $2 million a year, apparently, according to reports. This apparently would be, 150 times or 150% increase on the highest going rate ever. I'm going to tell you right now, I had people from the Carson Beck side of things was like, what? Huh? We're getting that much money? That's crazy. That's nuts. So I am of the belief that there's been no demands. Demands. No, there's not been any demands. So I have not heard of any $4.5 million valuation. In fact, I think that number is like not even in the parking lot of the ballpark, okay, for whatever is required or whatever might have been spoken about with regards to compensation for a potential return year for Carson Beck. That being said, what is actually happening with this NFL evaluation? Because that's what truly matters, okay? And the line of demarcation, per my sources, is a top 10 evaluation. If he gets a top 10 evaluation, there ain't no I love Georgia. There ain't no I want to go back and win a title. I want to get my own ring. There ain't none of that. If he is a guaranteed, we have good assurances from our agents, from our feedback, from our NFL intel, that you are going to be a top 10 selection, you will be entering the NFL draft, son. That's like that's the reality of the situation. That is what everybody involved, from Kirby Smart down, will most likely tell this individual, okay? And I have it on good authority that at least one team in the top 10 has given him that type of evaluation. Does that mean that everybody in the first round and all 32 NFL teams have established an evaluation that high on him? No. That means at least one team has. So what I'm trying to tell you is that from my sourcing, there is very much so still an information gathering process going on right now with regards to Carson Beck. That being said, I ultimately lean towards this individual coming back to the University of Georgia, and it sure as hell not costing you $4 million. Okay, so that's kind of where I sit with this story, gentlemen. I think it's gotten a little bit out of hand with some of this, reporting.
Do you
That's
think
a lot of money?
Yeah. Do you think this is something that's dependent on the Orange Bowl? Like maybe he's waiting to see gives one last performance and then really starts seeing NFL evals, or is it kind of at this point he's already waiting?
I think these NFL evaluators are finishing their full evaluations right now. I think they're coming to the war room saying this is what I think. I was told it was an executive decision maker for an NFL team that didn't necessarily need a starting quarterback right now. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't matter if you need him or not. You evaluate the entire class. So what they're doing right now as an agency is they're gauging feedback from every single one of these NFL general managers, not just the general managers that are in the market for a quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing I think you have to consider just from a Carson Beck standpoint, as a fan at least, is how many wins. What's the difference in wins you have if he doesn't come back next year? Because you're gonna be having a starting quarterback who's gonna be in their first year starting with going on the road to Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think it's a drastic difference immediately. Like, no matter who wins, you would presume it'd be Gunnar Stockton at that point. No matter who wins the quarterback battle, that's going to be a rough go.
Yeah,
that's going to be a very rough go.
It's not going to be it's not going to be a Carson Beck thing where you get four straight home games and your first game's against an Auburn, which is a good environment, but that Auburn team wasn't very good. Let's be real.
No, it was not.
Yeah, it definitely impacts your season and the outlook you have to have on your season immediately, just because. I mean, the way Carson was able to play in his first year was above the standard of what you expect from a guy that's making his first-year start as a college football player. But then to get him back, regardless of what your weapons look like offensively, like regardless of who you lose on offense, just having 15 back there in the pocket, that changes everything for your offense. It changes continuity, and that just changes consistency and experience, which is a huge thing at the quarterback spot.
I had somebody – I gave the opinion that I gave the other night, where I was like, maybe being a top 10 pick's overrated. Definitely being the number 1 overall pick's a little bit overrated. But maybe this idea of being a late first-round draft pick is kind of the sweet spot's where you want to be. And I kind of gave that one to some sources today. And one of the answers that I got back was rather intriguing. The idea that being selected in those first 5 picks automatically and drastically increases the leash that you have to work with. And a prime example of this is Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to have an opportunity to absolutely flame out probably twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to be this Bears run. They're going to give him 3 years to maybe see if he's the guy. And then they're going to have to force their hand to decide whether or not they draft Caleb Williams and start this thing all over again. And if that's the case, guess who's going to get picked up by a team very, very quickly because he was the number 1 overall pick or a first-round pick, Justin Fields. You are correct. So this idea that if you're a first-round draft pick or you're a high first-round draft pick, you have career insurance essentially because you're always going to be given, an opportunity. Yeah. And here's the other thing with Carson. If he is a top 10 pick, okay, and he does get this extended run and extended leash, he's going to be in the league forever as a career backup. Forever, because of what we have learned about his processing ability. So even if it doesn't work out as a top-end pick, you would imagine he's got career life insurance in terms of a lifespan in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention the difference in being the 5th overall pick or the 32nd is like $15 million as soon as Yeah, so
your signing bonuses drastically.
Yeah, so
the difference for those listening at home, I did the research on this. Bryce Young made $40 million in terms of signing bonus and first-year salary last year. It's a 4-year contract with a 5th-year option. The 32nd overall pick signed for a signing bonus, a contract total evaluation essentially of $11 million. So you're talking about a $29 million net delta between the number 1 overall pick and the 32nd overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge.
So, yeah, you're looking at about $1 million a slot every single time. So, yeah, there's a drastic difference. That again, none of it measures up, or I should say, no NIL package measures up to NFL money.
No,
at all. What we're talking about is whether or not Carson Beck believes or is getting the evaluation of a top 10 pick, or if he's going to have to come back next year for that. And right now, it sounds like the overwhelming majority of the league believes he needs to come back for another year.
Well, I mean, just off the top of my head, like, there's probably going to be at most 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 10.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, Drake May are going to be ahead of you no matter what. That's just a given at this point. So you're essentially betting on I'm going to be the 3rd quarterback taken in the NFL draft, and that's if I'm in the top 10 at that point. So I would come back if I was him.
That's you betting on you being selected over Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, Spencer Rattler, maybe even like. There's some really good quarterbacks in this class. Not to say
from Tulane, Michael Pratt.
Yeah, I mean, not to say obviously that Carson Beck isn't of that caliber, but I mean. You have to look at those odds and you have to understand of what you're betting on.
Because you're also going to have to fend off these guys that get the combine bump. Like Jaden Daniels is going to have an impressive 40. That's going to make people go, wait a minute, he's a top 15 pick now.
Who's going to be the one to rip a 60-yard bomb in underwear?
You already know it. It's Hendon Hooker. Or no, excuse me, it's Joe Milton.
Is Joe Milton entering the draft already?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He hasn't made it official, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
He's got a year of eligibility. We're going to have to look that up. But if it is, draft worthy, if he does end up going to the draft. The last I'd heard is he was going to explore. He was definitely seeking the feedback. But no, he's definitely a combine explorer.
For sure.
Let me ask you this, though. Okay, let's say everybody has the same exact year next year, okay, that they all had this year, except Quinn Ewers stays healthy. Where's he at in next year's class?
Carson Beck.
Yeah, because it's Quinn Ewers, it might be J.J. McCarthy, and it's Carson Beck. And at that point, you still might be QB3. Again, if they all have the same exact year, he still might be QB3.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that.
Yeah.
So, again, put the Agent Brooks hat on, like, we might be risking the same things this year as we are next year.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fair.
I mean, it's obviously it's a gamble, and when you're making career decisions like this, but it's also how much more you can earn next year. If you say come back and you win he's going to be an odds-on favorite to be the Heisman winner for most of the season next year, especially in preseason. What?
Speaking of Missouri, I know we're in the local hour, but they just had the number one corner in 2023 commit or 2024 commit to them. 2025. Okay. Taranio Pride just committed to Mizzou.
That boy Drink.
That boy Drink getting after it. Anyways, let's move on. I think he's ultimately coming back.
That's kind of the feel I'm getting as well.
Is that where you're sitting?
Yeah, I would say he's probably going to come back next year.
All right. Who is not coming back is Johnny Wilson at Florida State. He has opted out for the bowl game. He will be entering the 2023 or 2024 NFL draft. I would imagine he's not the last receiver from Florida State to declare.
Keon Coleman.
Yeah, we're waiting on Keon Coleman still, right?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, heck, why if you're a wide receiver for Florida State, why wouldn't you? Honestly, why would you not opt out of this bowl game? Because you're looking at, I got my backup quarterback playing. I'm going to go play one of the best defenses in the country as well. I have nothing to gain from this whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think a lot of offensive players on the Florida State side of the ball are going to be like, yeah, you know what? We got snubbed. We're always going to have that against us. We'll be able to say, for the rest of the time, we got cheated out of a playoff spot, but there's nothing more I can do to help this team. So I'm going to go ahead and preserve my career.
Do we think we see the same thing with guys like Jared Verse?
Yeah, I was about to say he's probably one that I would say.
And the other defensive tackle. Why does he not wear his name on the back of his jersey? Have we figured that out?
Who?
There's one player, 55. He's going to be drafted this year for the defensive tackle for Florida State. He does not have his name on the back of his jersey. He's the only player on the field.
Huh.
It's not weird. It's just noticeable.
Interesting.
I'm sure there's a reason for it.
I feel like I noticed that with another football
team. There's a
team.
Google machine right there in front of you. But anyways, I don't know how many of these offensive players play for Florida State, like you mentioned. Definitely a Keon Coleman opt-out. I would imagine – I don't know the classification of the running back. I would imagine he plays. Mm-hmm. But he's been their offense the last 3 weeks anyways, and he's done a relatively good job at it too.
Well, I mean, the thing for running backs you always have to consider is the value diminishes. Like, the value of a running back diminishes each time you put him on the field just because there's that much wear and tear on him when you play them. So I wouldn't be surprised if he opts out. I wouldn't be surprised if Kendall Milton opts out, even though he's talked about how he's already coming back. So,
how many offensive players? I mean, we know Georgia's going to have some opt-out, like early draft declarations.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we can kind of imagine where they're at. Who has more? Who has more opt-outs?
Overall or offensive?
Overall. Florida State or Georgia?
Florida State.
And you got to remember, are we counting portal entries already? Because if so, Georgia's already got 6 down.
No, I would
7 down.
I mean,
I wouldn't count them.
You would count them?
I would not count them.
I would.
I would count them.
Some of those guys are in the 2 deep. Some of those guys would have played.
Those are guys that would have played on Saturday that are not going to be there. So I would count them, yeah.
I would too. So they're counted as official opt-outs. Georgia's already at 6. I don't know how many guys Florida
Georgia's
State
definitely going to be the
You're
more.
Think they're gonna have more?
Just because I think they have more draft-eligible players with higher rankings.
How many? There's no way this sells out, right?
No, I don't think so.
Has the Hard Rock sold out at all this year?
I don't know.
The only reason why it might is because, A, Georgia fans want to go hang out in Miami for New Year's Eve. 2, it's close to Florida State.
It's not even – that's the thing, though. It's not even in Miami.
No, it's not. It's like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just like classified as in Miami.
Miami. It's in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh,
that's
close,
where the media hotel's in Fort Lauderdale.
So let's classify it as this. You're in a location that's close to a lot of places that's really fun to be at.
I'm going. I don't know about you going.
Yeah.
We've applied. I don't know.
You already got your answer?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
But I was basically told, worst case scenario, you'll get what we give you.
Who said that?
Georgia.
Oh.
We'll get what we give you. Or you'll get what we give you, which we know what that is. So that'd be unfortunate. I don't want to make that trip solo. I don't. As much of an adult as I am, going to these bowl games by myself, I don't feel good about them. Because, I mean,
why not?
Why?
Yeah, why don't you feel good?
I'm in major cities by myself. And used to, I would go out and have fun or whatever until about 9:30 and then go back. But now I just sit in the room and work because what am I going to go do? Drink a sugar-free Red Bull at the bar?
You do like the sugar-free Red Bull?
I do love my sugar-free Red Bull and cranberry. Shouts out Woody Womack. But no, I don't know what we're going to do if it's just me. Probably just hang out in the hotel and do work. So
Sounds like a blast.
it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Nyland Green hit the portal today, and that was kind of today's official news. And it was funny. This is timing right here. Were y'all on Patreon reading nugs this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put a nug out this morning talking about, bro, why I thought Nyland Green was going to be the first name in the portal. I thought Nyland Green was going to hit the portal last year this time. This is how long this one's been floated around. And for good reason, by the way. This was a top 100 player. This was one of many that I put on the line, was like, hey, this is a SI-99 guy, John Garcia. This is a dude. Okay, it's a kid from Newton County. This is a ball-playing SOB. This is a dude that could go anywhere and play right now as long as he plays safety. As long as he plays safety, dear Lord God, let him play safety in college, because I have yet to see a football player, maybe KJ Bolden this class. KJ Bolden's the first safety prospect or player who had played safety that covered near as much ground with the ball in the air as Nyland Green. Nyland Green's ability to say, oh, that's where that thing's going, and then get there and make a play on the ball was unmatched in high school football coming out of high school. And by the way, 6'1 3/4", almost 6'2". Well, in high school was like 175 pounds. I thought there was an option maybe we get to like 6'2.5", 195 pounds would have been the next, I don't know, Lewis Seen with ball skills. Could you imagine?
Oof.
Lewis Seen with ball skills? Stuck at corner, never worked out, got over-recruited. It sucks. He's going to go on to his next place. But the reason we're talking about him today was because for the second straight year, there was hesitancy, which is what we reported on Patreon this morning, 20 minutes before he hit the portal, okay? But there was hesitancy. This was not immediately, I'm in. This was, they might be able to talk this kid into sticking around for some unknown reason for another year. Who, by the way, another name fits in the same category, might have been the same recruiting class. Xavier Sori. Why is Xavier Sori's name not in the portal today? Why is it not in the portal already? It might eventually be in it, but why in the hell has that kid not hit the portal already, unless Georgia, for some reason, must be saying something to him to convince him to actually have some hesitation, which we saw with Nyland. They ultimately didn't win out. He hit it anyways. But how in the world is Kirby Smart creating hesitation in former 5-stars who haven't found a way to get on the field in 3 years? How is this possible?
I mean, because you can point to guys like Quay Walker and Trayvon Walker who waited waited for the first 2 years of their career. Nothing really happened, stuck with it. Junior year came, balled out, and they made $30 million in the NFL. Like that, I think that's the path to Chris Smith, even a guy, he wasn't drafted as high, but he was pretty low on the depth chart his first few years of his career, and then he's now regarded as one of the smartest high IQ players Georgia's ever had on the defensive side of the ball. So,
yeah, I mean, there's quite a few of those examples. I mean, even there's been some examples on the offensive line over the past couple of years of guys who didn't play early on, stuck with it. I mean, Amarius Mims is one of these guys.
Broderick Jones was one of these guys.
I was about to say Broderick Jones is absolutely one of these guys. And, I mean, we see it with NFL draft declarations every year. It's like, oh, you think that guy's going, then all of a sudden, oh, he's saying he's coming back for another year? Like, that's weird. I mean, I think it's, one, everything that you've mentioned, but also the fact of, like, Kirby Smart can go in there and say, like, we got one of the best coaching staffs in all of college football. If what you're trying to do, this is what we can promise you, this is what we can tell you of what if you come back next year, and you're going to get developed better probably here than anywhere else that you could possibly end up at.
It's something that he talked about at SEC Media Days. He talked about how every single player except for 3, I think he was 21 for 24 in that COVID class. That's the 2021 signing class. Now, a lot of those guys are the ones listed in this portal entry already. Okay, so he's lost some of them since making that statistic. But even getting 5-stars like Brock Vandagriff to hang around for 3 years is, I'm not going to say it's unparalleled. It just doesn't happen at other places very often.
No.
We see these guys give up way earlier than they do at Georgia in terms of like buying time to get playing time.
I mean, Brock Vandagriff, for all extensive purposes, was a quote-unquote solid backup for 3 years. Like, obviously if your starting QB
Shit,
goes,
he was a 3 for 2 of those years.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously if Carson Beck went down this year, it would be, that's not good at all. But it's also not disaster scenario where you're like maybe like a Florida State where you lose your starting quarterback and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, no, they're going on ESPN talking about how this guy was ESPN's number 2 ranked quarterback coming out of high school behind only Caleb Williams. You would have seen graphics all over the place to defend Georgia in that scenario. So, you know, no different than the way Cardell Jones played. They would have talked about Brock like this. They did not talk about the Florida State guys like this because they are not like this.
Exactly.
Or at least they weren't like this.
I mean, shoot, numbers and transfer portal statistics will tell you that both Gunner and Brock should already be away from your roster. I mean, probably before this season even started.
Carson Beck should have been away from your roster for being real.
I mean, we can go down the list of over the 3 every single offseason we get to have this conversation because Georgia continues to be one of these exceptions to the transfer portal rules and what everything tells you, like, oh, this is how your roster should look this year based on what happens in the transfer portal. Georgia has continued to be the exception.
I think Ohio State's up to 15.
Zoinks.
They were at 12 last night.
I'm of the belief that something is happening.
Something is afoot?
Something is happening. That's very, very weird. Very, very weird to me.
I don't know, man. I think some schools are a little bit more aggressive than you are at this. I think some schools don't wait around for things to pan out. Like there are offensive linemen right now at the University of Georgia that may never play.
Yeah.
But guess what? You need bodies. You need guys to go down there and play special teams. And at this point in this day and age of college football, if you've got a guy sitting on your roster that was maybe a 4 or 5 star recruit that didn't quite quote unquote pan out, but is willing to stick around and be a hellified scout team player, that dude is valuable. That dude is extremely valuable because nowadays everybody's dipping for playing time immediately.
Yeah. I think that might be, and I can't confirm this, there's no way to tell, but I think that might be one of the reasons you don't see as many portal entries from Georgia because there's a lot of teams, I think, that come to a player and say, hey, listen, you're probably not going to start this year. There's not a great chance you start next year. Why don't you go ahead and hit the portal, free up a scholarship for us so we can go out and get our own guy necessarily?
Oh, I don't know for a fact that has happened at places like Alabama. But, dude, last year, because I always do the comparisons, and at one point, I don't mind revealing this because I know for a fact a bunch of big-name dudes got access to it. At one point, I had access to the legitimate NCAA portal, okay? And I remember vividly watching Alabama put like 12 guys in the first day of the portal last year and then had like 9 guys the next day. At one point in the calendar year, there was like 32 names from Alabama in the portal, something like that. And what you're seeing is they don't – I'm telling you, some schools, they don't wait around. They're like, all right, that didn't pan out. We missed. Gone. Like, again, I don't want to call names out because at Georgia, they wait around. They don't process. It has been said this year there will be no process of scholarships. Okay? We are not kicking guys out that we missed on. We need the bodies is what it seems like the approach has been. Or else, why aren't some of these guys in the portal? Because you got 30 kids coming in. You got 30 high school kids coming in right now in your 2024 class. Okay, so the numbers don't matter anymore. NIL, scholarships, gray area, COVID super seniors, plus scholarships. The numbers are impossible to track nowadays. But if you got somebody that's out here trying to pin down the 85 numbers, good luck. Because right now I could make a case that they're at like 97. I mean, they got so many damn scholarship-worthy kids that are on the roster right now that you're like, how do you get to 85 right now? I know that guy, that 4-star was obviously on Scally when he got there. So what's going on? So if you're trying to count numbers nowadays, it's impossible.
You can't do it.
No.
There's no way. Don't ask me to do it. I'm not going to do it. That's one
Stat guy not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it. I'll go ahead and put my foot down on that one.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've asked sources because I try. I'm like, cause it's a thing to know. It used to be, well, shit, they're at 87, so we got to find 2 more, right? 2 more guys got to probably hit in the portal. Who they going to be? And then as a reporter, you try to go find your tea leaves and your nuggets, right? Ain't none of that no more. I straight up asked the source when Super Seniors first came out, when NIL first hit, which, by the way, same summer because – of course, NCAA wouldn't dare delay one of these things to make sure you'd smooth the process over. Nah, got to hit them both at once. As soon as they both hit, a lot of my sources were like, good luck. Good luck trying to figure out where the 85's at because we don't even know, brother.
Yeah.
We don't even know.
I was saying, they probably weren't telling you because they didn't know either.
No. Do we want to talk about All-Americans before we get out of here?
Yeah. I don't know if we have a graphic for it.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Was there any duds? I don't know. I haven't seen the list.
From what I can remember, first team was Brock.
Okay.
Cedric was on it.
Is this AP All-American? Who is it?
I don't think the AP's been released yet. It's the graphic Georgia posted, and then I went to find the actual AP list. And I don't know if it's been officially released. There's like an SI All-American list. There's
let's show love to the
apparently
the
everyone does
right here.
apparently everyone does All-American lists.
Friend of the
now.
show, Richard Johnson did this All-American list with Pat Forty. Not a friend of the show, but a colleague of the show.
His name's Richard Johnson.
Yeah, we had Richard on to talk about the Stallions reporting.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're doing.
I'm just processing that.
Yeah. Next time we'll call him DJ.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just call him DJ. Jaden Daniels. I don't want to read through these. Brock Bowers made first team. Let's see here.
That's all 3 years,
Malachi
right?
Starks made first team. That is all 3 years for PFF first team All-American. I don't know if he made. I saw the graphic you saw. Yeah, he was rated first team All-American for the first time.
Is he the first Kirby Smart player to do that?
3-time? I think so.
Gotta be.
Has to be. Unless there was a starting. No, because Jake Fromm wasn't an All-American.
Malachi wasn't, right?
Not first team.
Well,
he wasn't even first team this year.
That's right.
Yeah, Malachi's only in his second year.
He was first team this year. He was not last year.
He's only in his second year too. So
correct. I would laugh if our guy Bullard was ranked in some of these All-American spots, but he wasn't
on the All-SEC.
Yeah, that would be. It wouldn't be funny, but it would be fitting. Anything else, boys? All right, I do want to say this. Hey, we have a whole nother hour of national content, and I think it's one of the best show scripts we've put together. So if you haven't given us an opportunity to be your home for national college football content, give us 1 hour. That's all I ask for. We'll see you in about 5 minutes over on NBR. I love you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. It's a hell of a show.